All right, welcome back to the show. The author of that response, of course, joins us right now. Well, always great to have this gentleman on the program. And wow, I mean, there couldn't be more things happening in the world of sport, especially circulating around the city of New York, from where he hails. A longtime columnist with the New York Post, now with Bet Basics, and always a favorite of ours here on the show. We welcome Lenn Robbins to the program. Lenn, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing well. How are you guys? You know why I'm doing well?
Why is that?
Why now?
I've adopted a new stance in life, and
Okay.
here's how it goes. It's a new life philosophy, if you will, okay?
Okay.
You know how there are people out there who really, have a lot of faith and, they believe in a higher power
Yes.
or whatever, and they have these "What Would Jesus Do" bracelets.
100%.
Yes.
Yep.
So I have an HWSL bracelet that I wear every day. It's "How Would Santos Lie?"
This cat's great, isn't he? I mean, when he led the Jets to that Super Bowl III victory and stuck the two fingers in the air on his way into the locker room wearing number 12, which he now says Aaron Rodgers can have it if he comes to the Jets.
Yeah. So basically, anytime that I'm asked any question in any facet of my life, the first thing I think to myself is,
Yes.
"How would Santos lie?" And it's made everything so much more enjoyable.
Yeah, I mean, he's Trump on steroids when it comes to this
He's
sort of
smart,
thing.
that guy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's great.
You-
All right,
you guys
Len,
see
what's
me-
happening? How are you, my friend?
I'm doing great. Did you see me at the Grammys accepting my trophy?
Album of the year, man. That was fantastic. And to beat out that Harry Styles cat, that was impressive, Len Robbins.
Thank you. Thank you. You probably want to talk some sports, though, or something.
I guess.
No, I mean we're fine talking about anything here. We just been actually we've been rambling for about an hour and a half about a variety of things. One of the things that came up, and this is right in your wheelhouse here, because you were brilliant always in the New York Post. I first fell in love with your work when you were covering college basketball, which we don't get a lot of college basketball input here in South Florida. It's not a big deal, in spite of the fact that Jim Larinaga has done a wonderful job. And is a tremendous guy. I mean, he's also one of our favorites, like you are, to have here on the program. Always fascinating. But when I was thinking about this, I remember I was a young pup working for a small, insignificant newspaper in Ontario, California. And I was writing a story about Gene Bartow taking over for the Wizard in Los Angeles at UCLA following the Wizards' great run and dynastic performance. And I think the guy went like 25-4 or something like that. I don't know. He had a huge winning record, but lost maybe 5 or 6 games that first year. And the guy was crucified. And I'm just wondering, because, I mean, there's no more pleasurable circumstance for people here in South Florida than to see Duke get hammered. I guess that's true, in many circles around the country. And they get hammered last night. I'm looking at John Shire. How much of a leash does John Shire have? What with the Dukies? I mean, Bartow was a somewhat unknown entity to the UCLA fans. I mean, it was kind of a bizarre hire. It was kind of like a Dolphin coaching hire, where you ask yourself, "Oh, who the hell is that guy? Where did he come from?" But does John Shire have a long leash with Duke if they don't produce the kind of results that they got from Krzyzewski?
Well, first of all, again, I want to stay true to my new mantra. Santos will be releasing a statement today saying that he's already been contacted by Duke.
Well, he turned the job down before they gave it to Shire, I guess. Yeah,
Right.
He was Coach K's original choice.
John deserves a good amount of time. I mean, look,
Okay.
they're still recruiting at an elite level,
Yeah.
right? And how do you replace legends, right? It's almost impossible, right? The Bartow story is a really good one, right? What did he do? He won. He just wasn't a guy named Wooden. Well, nobody was ever going to be Wooden again. Not even Krzyzewski was Wooden. So, John's a good guy. He's paid his dues. He's the right guy at the right time. And let's remember something also about, these narratives. What if Duke goes on some sort of a March roll and, winds up in the Elite Eight? All of a sudden, everything's right in the world.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, maybe so. I don't know that they're screaming. It seems like this guy's getting, fairly favorable treatment. Maybe, at least, a pass for most of this year. But how well did you know Jim Larinaga? Of course, he has New York roots and is just, unfortunately, only slightly older than I am. But he, certainly goes back. I mean, and he references these New York roots with great fondness.
Great applause.
How well do you know him, and what do you make of what he's doing here in Miami? Because according to Jim Boeheim, I mean, he bought himself a team, which we find a little bit unfathomable because it's not like he has like a bunch of superstars on this team.
McDonald's All Americans.
Right. Well, I used to know Jimmy really, really well. And, I'm kind of sad and, put the only
Hello.
group that was a coach.
Oh, we lost you there. I don't know. Did you roll into a men's room there in the subway station? What happened, Len?
No. Santos was calling. He wants to. So,
hang up on
when
him.
I was working for the Brooklyn Nets, he was still, kind of getting his feet wet in Miami. And we were practicing at Miami at the arena there. And the bus pulls in. Jimmy didn't know that I had left the post and had taken a position, with the Nets.
Right.
So he's just waiting there to like welcome the team and, hey, anything you guys need. And I get off the bus and he goes, "Look at this. A couple in New York is doing the snowbird thing."
Good guy, yeah.
He's one of those. Yeah, he's one of those guys. Kind of broke the mold, right? But man, don't be fooled. Don't be fooled at all by that kind of happy-go-lucky. I'm the great uncle, grandfather, whatever. This guy's a competitor. He knows his basketball, and I think most importantly, at a place like Miami, he lets his guys play. And man, does he have some guys who can play?
Yep.
So I think they're one of those teams that, look at the way they play, right? That's a physical, hard knocks kind of team.
Yep.
That's who Larranaga is deep down inside.
Yeah, and you would think, you were going to get more of a Pete Carrill type of game out of an older coach like that. We'd be waiting for, somebody to come off a backdoor pick. And, they run. I mean, they press the pace. And they're not afraid to hoist them either, like you said. I mean, it's very impressive because it does look like they, A, are very much in sync, and B, but without having one guy, I guess Isaiah Wong was very popular in the metropolitan New York area there and was highly touted coming out of New Jersey high school. But, even he doesn't necessarily have to carry the team. So very, very impressive. And the ACC, obviously, is pretty much wide open this year in college basketball.
The ACC is wide open. The tournament's wide open. The Big Ten is down. The Big 12 is up. You were just talking about how much rope does, Shia get there. I mean, look at what's happening at Villanova, right? You just don't replace guys like, Krzyzewski, like Jay Wright, who right now Jay Wright is saying, "Oh, Lenny, man, I can't believe you put me in the same breath with Krzyzewski. I hate that, legend kind of stuff. But, hey, I'm not the one who won multiple national championships and turned a small, Catholic school on the main line into a national power. That's your doing. So, if you feel you've got the right guy, then you don't just pull the plug after, the first season that doesn't work or even 2 seasons in, unless you see that, the players are disengaged. And the players in both programs are far from disengaged.
What do you make of Jimmy B's comments? The Pittsburgh bought a team. He singled out a couple of schools there, which, I know he's 80 years old there, and, maybe he's starting to see bugs when he wakes up in the morning. But, he named a couple of teams and I said they bought teams. Now neither of these teams is up there in the top 10. Pittsburgh, I guess, is doing all right. And we know Miami's having a good season, but they're, ranked, number 20-something. So if they're buying teams, you would have to assume that the teams that are on top are, spending even more money in this direction. What do you make, Lenn Robbins, having been a long time, advocate for college basketball and brilliant in your coverage? What do you make of the state of the game today?
The state of the game today? Well, look, Jimmy apologized for, lumping a couple of the programs that he did in with that statement, right? But what he said is absolutely true. I mean, outside of FIFA, there's been no more dysfunctional and, to me, like corrupt organization than the NCAA.
That's great.
This is like, letting the inmates oversee the prison guards, right?
Yes.
It's just insane, right? So, what did they do? They knew for years that the Supreme Court was going to come down on the side of NIL. They knew it, right? And they knew the transfer portal was coming, and they were totally unprepared to deal with either one of those issues, right? So, if you're a guy who's been in the game, and let's remember something, right? Jimmy V's roots are in the Big East, which was basically urban, parochial schools where you got tough kids and you got into brick fights, rock fights every night in terms of the way you played, the game you played, right? Yeah. So, to him, the whole concept of, we're not going to build a team. We're not going to develop a team. We're going to go to the portal, or we're going to introduce an NIL deal. It's like telling a great artist that some guy named Pollock's going to come around and just throw paint at a canvas and it's going to be great, right?
Homage to the square. It hangs in the Metropolitan Museum of Art, and it's a blank canvas. I remember staring at it in the 4th grade and wondering how the hell some guy got away with this.
Yeah. It's like, what's that children's book, The Dot, where a kid just puts a dot on a piece of paper, and the art teacher hangs it up in the room because people were making fun of the kids' artistry. The only reason I know that book, I don't know any children's book because I had a horrible childhood, was because, when I was in 8th grade at Billingsley Junior High School, my art teacher told me that I could continue to take the class and I would fail because I was that bad of an artist, or I could come up with some independent study, which basically meant playing with my pencil pinky in the corner, right? And I could get a B. Right.
Yeah, I think Hernandez had that same course at the University of Florida. Aaron Hernandez. So he ended up getting enough credits to qualify to play for the team. All right. So, I mean, this is something we have to live with. It's a mess. I think that also was accelerated by the fact that the NCAA tried to hang on. I mean, we've discussed this on the show, Len. For way too long. I mean, they could have capitulated to whatever the suggestions were of paying a guy guys $300 a month or something, and maybe none of this would have escalated to this point. I would also throw the World Boxing Council in there with FIFA and the NCAA as my favorite corrupt organizations in all of sport.
Right,
all right, let's transition. Go ahead, Len.
Yeah. Maybe people come out and say we're legit.
They know they're
wrestling guys have never come out and said we're legit. It's a farce in the show, right?
What are the odds? We facetiously suggested this, but what are the odds you see Aaron Rodgers in a Jets uniform next year? In your opinion,
I think they're pretty good. I mean, look, I think the cord is clearly cut in Green Bay, right?
Yes. Doesn't look good there.
The thing that's fascinating to me about the Aaron Rodgers thing is I don't know of many superstars who've been able to continue to play at an elite level, but who went from being one of the more admired players at their position ever, and now I don't know anybody who likes him. I mean, he's just
he's lost his mind.
Royal pain in the ass, right?
Seems like a goofball.
In every room, he secretly wants to retire and just host Jeopardy.
Yes.
He wants to be Cameron Poe in, the remake of, Con Air 2.
He has the look, or he's capable of it.
Yeah, please.
Well,
I don't know. I think he's going to hire Santos as his PR guy.
Huckabee Sanders, I guess, would work too there. I mean, she was great. Remember that? He would just undress the reporters. Lou, your paper's going under. Why would I answer your question? That would have applied to a lot of people, I guess, that were in the press room there asking questions about the old Trumpster. All right. If you look at it, though, I mean, if he does go to the Jets, I mean, does that make them contenders? You would think you could plug him in there that were they a decent quarterback play away from being a very good team last year?
Yeah.
Well, look, that defense is a monster defense. I mean, it really is. They can flat out win games for you with that defense. Then you look at the offensive side of the ball. If they get another offensive lineman in this draft, and I think they probably will go that way. They've got great young receivers now. They've got a great young running back. If Brees Hall comes back from the ACL, they've got everything in place right now, and they got a coach who they love playing for. So yeah, you put all that together. There's no reason why not. And unlike the Miami Dolphins, they haven't had to forfeit any of their first round draft picks. So you got that going for you.
Yeah. Well, and look, and just to switch gears a little bit, as the trade deadlines this Thursday, we were talking about a guy that was revered at one point that is now sort of lost his marbles. You covered a guy who now goes from the Northeast to the South, I guess, West, where he's probably more home with his belief system these days. Kyrie Irving. We've talked a lot about Irving. We've talked a lot about the Nets. I'm just curious. Like people down here were actually referring to it as the Mavs getting help by getting Kyrie. And I laughed out loud reading those tweets because I'm like, when did Kyrie help anyone? What were your thoughts on that move and where the Nets are now and where the Mavs are now after that move?
So first of all, again, not often I break news on this story, but I will. But Brooklyn Nets fans are going to be hosting a parade down Flatbush Avenue when the season ends. Regardless of what happens in the playoffs, it's a Kyrie is gone parade.
Yes.
Even the most Meshuggah Nets fan, that's it. They had it, right?
Right.
And that's the big question in all this, right? Because look, I heard what you just said, but every franchise that he's gone to, they won at the beginning, right?
Mm-hmm.
Heck, he hits the shot, not LeBron, that wins the NBA title in Cleveland, right? So nobody ever disputed his talent, but I mean, he shows up at every place that he gets traded to with a can of gasoline and a butane lighter in his bag, right? And then it's just a matter of when does he feel the need to go up while the teacher has his back turned and light the entire room on fire.
Yeah, exactly.
He can't help himself. He's another guy who thinks he's the smartest guy in any room. And once he comes out with some position on anything, he can't be advised or instructed or being brought to reason that you sound like an absolute moron. Change your tune. Can't do it. So the real question is, at what point does what point is a play called to Luka where Kyrie just says nope? And the rift begins, right? At what point does Dallas have to face the Luka saying it's me or it's him?
Speaking of Luka, I mean, I wouldn't mess with this cat, especially after they had a shot of Mark Cuban sitting, this was a few weeks ago, with Luka's father, who really did look like Luca Brasi. And I was thinking maybe that was, I mean, is there any word on the street that helped expedite the idea that they needed help for Luka Doncic on the court there? Because, wow, I wouldn't mess with this guy. Did you see Luka's father by any chance, Lenn Robbins, sitting next to Cuban during that game that Dallas was playing? Scary looking cat. Yeah.
Unlike you for being so foolish with your comments now, I think he's an incredibly handsome man.
He looked like Anthony Quinn in Requiem for a Heavyweight, this guy.
I think he has a real appeal to him.
Yeah.
It might have to do with the 357 Magnum he has on the flap of his jacket. But, look, make no mistake about it, right? Luka knows exactly who and what he is. He's not just the face of the Mavericks. Yep. He's on the verge of being the face of the NBA.
Yep.
If Kyrie Irving comes in there and for 1 second thinks that he's going to be the guy, and Kyrie's going to say all the right things. He's going to say it's Luka's team. He's going to say that, I think I can just help this team take the next step, blah, blah, blah. But I'm telling you, the first time that he takes a shot that, in clutch time where the ball didn't get to Luka or whatever, you can start your calendars right there and then, right? That's the beginning of the draws.
Let's get into some heavy matters concerning the Super Bowl, the stuff that we're concerned with. I'm going against the grain. I think most people bet heads on the coin toss. I'm going to take tails. I'm going to parlay that, and I'm hoping you have some insight into this. I don't know what kind of country music fan you are. We are not Lubie might be more inclined to listen to country music because he was
That's my
Svengali'd
wife.
by some girl
Yeah,
at like
that's-
NASCAR that he was married to at one
This
time.
is my
So
now wife.
he knew that Chris Stapleton was not a defenseman for the Los Angeles Kings, which so he's doing the anthem. I don't know. Is there any kind of trend? You're with Bet Basics. I mean, did it have any trends on country singers over under on length of the anthem?
It's really interesting you brought that up because I read a fascinating piece the other day by Wright Thompson, who people don't know him, is the best sports profile writer, maybe of all time.
Yeah, we talked to him a few
now,
weeks back.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, he did a piece on how Clayton Kershaw is absolutely like fixated on time, right? Like if he says he's going to meet you for an interview at 6:30, it's not 6:30-ish. He will be there exactly at 6:30. And he actually can be like thrown out of whack if the national anthem singer goes long, right? Like 30 seconds longer, whatever, right? And I don't know about you guys, but I've been taking wages at my house for years now on how long the national anthem would be. And you hear like the first note or two. Because there are singers now who turned like a one word into like a 16-syllable note. Right?
I love that. Yeah, I always play the over.
Right? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Dogs are now howling and stuff.
Well, I mean, if you want to throw Clayton Kershaw off his game, it just occurred to me. I mean, just sit behind home plate where Larry King and Mary Hart usually are at Dodger games, and hold up a big picture of Aretha Franklin. And, she was great, right? Didn't she come out there? What was it, Gladys Knight? It might have been Gladys Knight. I forget who it was that came out there and did like a 2-minute kind of Beethoven intro on a piano before she even got into the anthem, which I counted. And then the overplayers were rejoicing. Now, I'm going to be in Atlantic City, and I managed to glom a couple of tickets to the Harris pool party for the Super Bowl, which should be great because it's free food and drink, and I didn't pay for the tickets. Courtesy of my wife's losing slot play. But it only cost me like $3,000 probably last night to get the tickets to get a free hot dog with some sauerkraut. But I would imagine, I mean, I'm thinking it's 99% Eagles fans, many of whom may have family ties to other operations in the city that may also be taking action on the game. Is it okay to be, in there thinking that Kansas City has a shot? What do you think? Do you give the Chiefs a chance to beat the point spread and beat the Eagles ultimately, even if Mahomes might be slightly compromised in this game?
All right. Well, there are two things here. First of all, my new business venture is I'm now selling renting retired police horses to Philadelphia Eagles fans so that they can punch the horses throughout the game.
They go Alex Karras, right? Blazing Saddles.
Yeah. And look, I'm an animal lover, so I have to go against all my, all of my deep found, morals and scruples. Look, here's the deal, right? If you want to bet the Chiefs, who I think it's pretty clear right now across the board are the inferior team. If you want to bet the Eagles, what you're saying is you are betting against Superman, right? Because what Patrick Mahomes has done. And people we tend to get carried away with like the event of the moment, right? They're saying that, the AFC title game was his greatest performance because of how badly hurt he was. Certainly make a case for that, but this guy's Superman. Okay. So do you want to bet against him? Do you think that Andy Reid can come up with enough plays to keep them in the game into the fourth quarter? And then Mahomes, puts on the cape and the Eagles are wondering, what happened to our kryptonite. I happen to think that based on what I saw, and I know he's had 2 weeks to heal up, those high ankle sprains, that's a month at least. That's 6 weeks at least. So it kills me to say this because, here's one of the problems with Philadelphia, right? Philadelphia hates New York. Philadelphians hate New York.
Yes.
We don't care at all about them. We don't care. Like they don't even register on our radio, like our right? Like what do they have? They have like the Liberty Bell. And by the way, people don't know this. The crack in the Liberty Bell, it actually was a hairline crack. But then when they tried to fix it,
Yes.
That's the crack that you now see. So that's Philadelphia workmanship. Right there, right?
They think Cheese Whiz
So,
is good. Yeah, that's another thing.
yeah, they honestly believe that Philadelphia cream cheese was made in Philadelphia. No,
Yeah.
no. So, they're angry. They recognize that their only place in life is they are a stop on the Northeast Corridor Amtrak. That's all about.
I'll throw all those insults out there when I'm in the pool party there at the
Yeah, you should go
Paris
for it,
Casino. Yeah.
Yeah, you should go for it.
You got my home address, right?
Yeah.
You do, right?
I would think you would want to disavow any knowledge you're connected to me. Yeah, after that performance.
Okay, I stand by my people. If you have to get out of AC fast, not that you would be the first one.
Yeah.
You are welcome at the Robbins abode. Welcome.
All right, final thing. And you worked at Madison Square Garden for a good period of time there, because I remember introducing you for a couple of years as being associated with MSG Network and MSG.com. I don't know what your familiarity was, or your thoughts were about James Dolan, who was running the show, but have you been singled out? I mean, are you able to go in and see like the Rockettes at Radio City Music Hall, or are you one of the people that's been subjected to the identification process that weeds out anybody that has said anything or has directed anything negative towards James Dolan?
Okay, so two things here. I was being banned from the Garden before there was even facial recognition. So, right. Now, second of all, and this is an absolute true story. One of the attorneys, the guy who really has become the lightning rod now for this whole fiasco, Ben Pinchesky. I became friends with Ben the first day of first grade at PS 115.
Oh, wow.
And
nice.
Here we are, I don't know, 70 years later, we are still best friends, right? Wow. And the moment he texted me and said, I just got booted from the Garden, I was like, James Dolan has no idea the can of whoop ass that he just opened. Look, Ben's parents were Holocaust survivors.
Oh, wow.
A lot of civil rights work. I don't know if you guys remember the show, What Would You Do? Right? Where they have placed it. Okay. Go find the clip, Ben Pinchesky, What Would You Do? It's one of the most ferocious reactions to like someone being, am I allowed to say asshole too?
Yeah, you can say it.
Yeah. We do all kinds of things here.
I shouldn't have even asked. It's not going to go away. It's not going to go away for Dolan. And the important thing about this, right, in terms of being a Knicks fan, here's why the Knicks will never win an NBA title, because any free agent out there who is even thinking about coming to the Knicks, right, is saying, why do I want to go to a place where every 6 months the owner becomes the dysfunctional story?
Yes.
I don't want to be there. Can you imagine LeBron being here?
No. I mean, and that was a turning point, I guess, in the Knicks franchise history when James Dolan couldn't talk LeBron James, who naturally, relishes this sort of spotlight.
Yep.
Declined to go to the Mecca of basketball, Madison Square Garden, to play most of his games. Imagine what it would be like at MSG tonight if LeBron was going for the Kareem Abdul-Jabbar record.
Dolan has to go away. He has to go away. If he ever wants the Knicks to win another title, he has to.
Tom Thibodeau looks like he's aged 100 years in the last couple of seasons, hasn't he? My God. I mean, I don't know that he was, particularly lively looking before, but my God. He really looks like, some old man that they pulled out of the crowd there, all hunched over and squinting. He doesn't look good, even though the Knicks have a winning record. Len, always a pleasure. Bet Basics, what can people find there, and where can they find your work?
BetBasics.com. Any Super Bowl bet that you're possibly thinking of is there. And by the way, I'm just going to say this real quick. I know you're up against time crunch here. Yep. I have an experiment. How do you know you're in an overly demanding job?
Yes.
Go look at every president before they took office and then 4 or 8 years after they left office.
Yeah.
And I'm now calling that the Tom Thibodeau syndrome.
Oh, he looks like he got hit with a haymaker by Father Time, this guy. I mean, he just looks like he's in pain all the time, even early in games, right? It's like 1-0, and Thibodeau looks like he's doubled over in, grief. All right, Len, always a pleasure, my friend. Bet Basics, betbasics.com. You can find a lot of Lenn Robbins' work. It's all terrific, and always great having you on the show. Thanks so much for being with us, my friend.
Pleasure. Remember, guys, how would Santos lie? It'll free up your life.
Thanks, man.